Hello there, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly insights for the month of June. Before we get started, let me just tell you what to expect here. This is a general reading, so I would never recommend that anybody make any decisions based on a general reading. If you have something you're trying to make a decision about, I would always suggest get a private reading so that whoever is reading for you can look at those energies that apply just to you, not to the energies of maybe like 1,500 people who are watching, but they can hone in and find out specifically what's going on with you. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is free will plays a part in everything. So everything that you hear here, if it does apply to you, and like I said, not all of it will, you have free will. So if you hear something that you don't like, you do have the free will to make some decisions and to change some things along the way so that they are not the experiences that you don't want to have. So none of this is written in stone. You have free will. Free will can change anything. And other people's free will can change things too. But I think it's important that we know that our free will can change things. And when we have a heads up early like this gives us a chance, if we see something coming in we'd rather not have happen, to handle it. All right, so what else do I want you to know? What I'm looking at is one life cycle. All of us have several different life cycles running at the same time. Many times they overlap somewhat. So you've got maybe a family life cycle, a work life cycle, a school life cycle, a romance life cycle, etc., friendship life cycles. So I'm just going to be looking at one life cycle that comes up for each sign during the month. So this is going to be a major theme for each sign, but it is not going to be everything that goes on during the month. So please don't think of this as something comprehensive because it absolutely is not. Okay, so I think you guys know everything I want you to know going into this. And so on with your reading. Hello there, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly tarot insights for the month of June. The life cycle that we're looking at for this month for you guys is going to be a theme through the month, somewhere in the month that may not even go all the way through. But it is going to be something that is one of the more important parts of the month for you. So what we have coming up here for your environment is Okay, so environments usually are home, but sometimes they can be work or school. They're really any place where you have energy or effort invested. And what's coming up as far as your environment is that um, your environment is the money pit. Okay, that's what I basically have coming up here. Now, it doesn't have to be like that extreme if you've seen the movie, but basically that you are spending a lot of money that you probably weren't planning on spending on your environment, or maybe if you were, this is still something that is significant that is being spent on your environment. Now, subconscious leanings. Subconscious leanings are not too surprising considering what we just saw about your environment. Subconscious leanings have to do with how do I create more income? I need more cash flow. I need more cash to flow. So that's what your subconscious is working on. How do I get more income in? Okay, Sagittarius, let's look at your learning style. Okay, so whatever you're learning as you go through this particular life cycle, you are just drawn into whatever that topic is. You know, so whether you're taking a Reiki class or whether you're taking full-blown classes at a university or at a college, whether you are doing self-learning, you know, just research on your own independently, whatever it is, what you're learning about is something that really has a strong draw on you. It's something you're very, very interested in. Communication style. I feel like you do have information that would help some of the people around you, and you don't mind communicating that, but at the same time, you also sort of go by the old saying of don't throw your pearls before the swine. So you have the information, it is available. I feel like when somebody lets you know that they're open to receiving information from you, then you are willing to be very generous with that information. Moving on to your work, for those of you who have seen me before, you know that I'm weird about work. Work can be those things that you're doing to make a living, but it can also be what you're doing to improve your inner character. And so what I'm seeing is that right now, when it comes to work, if this is talking about the making a living version for you, I'm seeing that you're not completely happy with work. You're looking around and you're realizing, you know what, if just this one thing would be better, that would make so much difference in how I feel about work. So there's a fly in the ointment, basically, is how I like to look at what I'm seeing here. So it's not that it's all bad. In fact, it's not that it's mostly bad, but there's one thing that really has your attention that you're having a hard time seeing around that you would like to make better. And I feel like for those of you that this applies to, I feel like you're taking steps towards making that better as well. Now, for those of you that this is coming up as more of an inner work type thing, this is really having something that you're very focused on, that you're working on for your inner character. So this is something that you have recently realized, or maybe you're realizing it just after you see this video, but for most of you, you will have already recently realized that there is something that you're not happy with about your own character or how you present yourself, that you are honing in on and really making it more acceptable to yourself. To yourself, not to society, to yourself. Pay attention. Okay, the next card that I have talks to me about that part of you that is growing or expanding as you go through this life cycle right now, Sagittarius. And I'm seeing that you are learning to be more creative, you're learning to be more spontaneous, you're learning to let your juices flow that much more. You were just, to me, it feels like you're just taking this to a whole different level than what you've ever taken it to before. So that's fun. It's exciting. Can have you on the edge of the seat a little bit if you're being more spontaneous than you're used to being, but still can be lots of fun if you can just let the stress factor come out of that. Now, the next thing that I see that you're standing up for is that there's some kind of new responsibility that you're carrying. So you may be doing something for your parents. You may be helping your child with something that you haven't been helping your child with before. There may be, your child may be special needs, and you're finding ways to help that child to deal with those special needs and compensate for them and make it out in the world. All kinds of different ways that new responsibilities can come up. This could even be a promotion at work. But whatever it is, it's really interesting that it comes up in this position because it comes up as something that you have to stand up for. So this is a responsibility that you're probably picking up that other people are like, why are you doing that? Most people maybe wouldn't do it. Most people don't have the compassion in their hearts to pick up this responsibility, this particular responsibility that you're picking up, because it does require some sacrifice, I feel like. So people are questioning, you know, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself? And you're having to stand up for it, and you're having to say, you know what, because I feel like this is the right thing. This is the best thing. And because I can't always think about myself. Yes, I have to put myself first, but everything can't be all about me. So this is a really interesting card. Like I said, I feel like that's what you're defending. You're defending your right to pick up this responsibility that you want to pick up, and you are picking up. Now, the next card that comes up, Sagittarius, talks about how other people perceive you or how they view you. I've got a couple of actual different ways that this card is coming into me. So for some of you, it's going to be one way, and for some of you, it's going to be another. And maybe for some of you, it'll be both. That happens too. But I feel like for some of you, you're being perceived as somebody who puts out an awful lot of energy to try to get things or try to keep things going well, whether it's relationship, whether it's work, whatever it is, okay? Now, for others of you, I have basically like almost the opposite perception, which is saying that this perception is that you have given of yourself freely, whether it's resources, your own energy, your own time, whatever, And they're seeing you as now you're cutting that off. They see it as you, you may have realized that somebody was taking advantage of the generosity that you were showing them, and you have decided, okay, that's enough of that, and just cutting it off right there when you realize it's being taken advantage of. But that's what people are seeing. Either you're putting out an awful lot of energy, or else you have been putting out an awful lot of energy or resources, and now you're saying, that's enough. I've given you everything that you need so that you should be rolling on your own now. Now it's time for me to take care of me and you to take care of you. Okay, so that's talking about how other people perceive you during this particular life cycle. Lesson or experience for this life cycle is for you to let down your guard a little bit, to be a little bit more vulnerable with the people around you. To me, this talks about sharing some of the more intimate details of yourself, sharing some of the more personal things with people around you who you can trust. Be choosy about this, but I do see you sharing these types of things with people. And not only like information, but also I feel like there is a certain amount, for some of you especially, there's a certain amount of resources that you're sharing with other people too. And it's a big leap of faith to share these resources with them and hope that those resources come back in good shape. So for some of you, this may be having a teenager that's just learning how to drive and allowing them to take the car out. That's sharing resources and having a big leap of faith that that car is going to come back in good shape. That's just one example, but I think you guys kind of get the picture from that. Now, as you are making yourself a little bit more comfortable with being vulnerable, whatever way that takes form for you guys, there are some things going on. First of all, I do see you sort of, how is this exactly? The first thing is I see that there are some dreams or ideas, goals, targets that you've been wanting to manifest for a while. I feel like you're starting to take some first step towards at least one of those, if not a few of those, kind of almost simultaneously. So taking some first steps towards some dreams is definitely happening, even as you're in the way, even as you're being vulnerable. And this, the way this comes up, this kind of implies that you have to be vulnerable in this way to take those steps towards what you really want. Excuse me. The other thing that comes up is with reaching those things that you really want, I think you're coming to the realization that it's not going to happen just instantly. This is not something where you take your magic wand out and you wave it and all of a sudden, poof, here's your dream right in front of you. You're starting to realize that it's going to take time, and it's going to take you gaining some skill as well in making this come to be. And that's also something that you learn as a part of this vulnerability. I think that you learn that through just seeing what's going on as you are vulnerable here. So, ultimate fulfillment of this life cycle, though, is once we have that understanding, and once you have started taking those steps towards your dreams, your mission, what you want to do, becomes more clear to you. The focus becomes more clear. The whole goal becomes more clear. And so it's always easier to do something that we're really clear about. And so this is really good news to see this coming in, that as you are vulnerable and allow some of that vulnerableness to happen so that you can take some of these steps towards your dreams, that you start to have this clear knowing of what else you need to do to get towards your dream. And really you start following that inner guidance. You start learning to trust that inner guidance and follow the inner guidance so that you can reach this goal. Because I do feel like for a lot of you Sagittarians, whatever this inner dream is or this goal is that you guys are stepping towards, I do feel like this thing is way huger than you feel like you can necessarily do. You just kind of have to think about it as one step at a time. Okay, if I can do this, now I can do this step, now I can do this step. Here's the goal way out here. If you look at the goal way out here, you're like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. But if you look at it as I can do this step, and now I can take this step, and now I can take this step, then you get to the goal. And I feel like that's how it is for you guys, that your dream is so far out that if you don't follow that inner guidance, that inner intuition, you know, you could end up really doubting yourself and doubting what you can actually accomplish. So it's a really good thing to be tuned into that kind of inner guidance system. So that's a really great way for this life cycle to end up and to start kind of where you graduate and then move on to the next life cycle. It's a really great place. Okay, so those are your insights for June, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for stopping by, hanging out, liking, sharing, subscribing. I do appreciate all your support. Oh, I forgot to say thank you for your comments. And I like your comments. I read everybody's comments. I go in once a day and look at them all. I don't always have time to respond to them. Just kind of depends what my days look like. Most of the time I don't have time to respond to them. But I do see them all, and I want you guys to know I do appreciate all your kind words and all your encouragement. So everyone, have a fantastic month, and I will see you all back here the next time. Peace out.